Okay, hello, welcome everybody. For those of you who don't know me, which I think almost everybody does, my name is Pam Baum. I go by Pammy. I co-manage the team with Marion Calloway, speaker 3, and we are going to be looking at the Amenti teachings. We are going to be looking at where these teachings began. I know some of you have been here from the beginning. I know I've been here from the beginning, and we've come a long way. So what's important to recognize when we look at our disclaimer here, which I will read to you, is that this module is going to be telling you the way it was intended to be, the way it happened, but not the way it is. So with all the recent information that we've had, we're going to leave all that up to Speaker 1 to tell you what's happening now. We're going to take a journey into our past, into our evolutionary history. Okay? So these teachings are copyright by the Ezraite Press, presented by the Adashi MCEO LLC in association with the Ezraite Press, Melchizedek Cloister Emerald Order Incorporated. Ashiana and Asiana Dean, speakers 1, 2, 1999 to 2009, and all rights are reserved. So, as tempting as it might be to take pictures, please don't do that. You're welcome to record, make audio recordings, and that's fine. So, the materials presented in this presentation reflect the dynamics of the emerging MCEO materials and the reality that the detailed understanding of major topics is under continuous development. I think we can all agree with that. And therefore, the contents and level of detail herein are as advanced as possible up to the date of publication of the source materials. So we're going back to 1998, and we're going to take a journey through time. Okay? Oh, I have the clicker. Okay. So we're going to begin with dial-up. Does everybody know what dial-up is? Great. Okay. So, in the name of the Melchizedek Cloister, Emerald Order, Holy Order of the Unisai, Sacred House of One. Maharata Kumbai Vectus, Nego Kayu Niblium by Vectai, Ma'a by Vectai, Unure Urnamur. Iste unte isa trajda hehera, petate uma ashelum taeja intadoe, shadayure akuntan akuntan, shadayure akuntan akuntan. Shaddai Urea. Leetore ithwa duete niwa. Leetore ithwa duete niwa. I am the Adondra 360 now. I am the Adondra 360 now. I am the Adondra 360 now. Adondra yesta utshiwa Adonai. Adondra yesta utshiwa Adonai. Adondra yesta utshiwa Adonai. Taesha intadore. Taesha intadore. Taesha intadore. Just breathe that in. So, as I said earlier, we are here to look at and understand and explore the Amenti teachings, where these freedom teachings began. Okay? So the freedom teachings are connected to a cosmic drama purposely hidden from humanity. Why would anybody want to hide something from humanity? We're going to find that out. The root of our history dates to 950 billion years ago. That's a long time. And will culminate in 2012 to 2017. So we're in the latter half of 2009. What kind of culmination are we looking for in 2012? Exactly. Success. So when we're talking about the freedom teachings, I have over here, on this board over here, I have freedom, awareness, and love. And what that means is freedom is the creed of the Guardian Alliance. Awareness is their method. We all know that. And love is the motivation. So as we move through this presentation, hopefully you will be able to see, as I did in preparing for this presentation, the profound love the guardian races have for our species on this planet. So we will be going over humanity's relationship to Source and the cosmos, not in any great detail. These teachings are so vast and there's so much detail. We're just going to be touching on certain aspects to give you a story of our evolutionary history. We're going to be discussing in little detail the multidimensional universe, the multidimensional identity, conscious evolution, DNA activation, dimensional ascension, and earth changes. And not so much earth changes that we are, thinking may happen in one probability or another, but we're going to be going over earth changes we've already experienced through our evolutionary history. So, where does it all begin? With the law of one. All is one, and there is a state of consciousness where you know that. There is a state of consciousness where you feel that. There is a state of consciousness where you become that. And there's a state of consciousness where you are that. God realization is when you are at one with the universe, and the universe is one with you, and you know everything outside of you is not outside of you at all. Everything begins with the unici, emerges from the unici into manifestation, and goes back to it. You are never separate from Source because you came from Source. You are a part of Source. You are Source. But when we get down in the illusion of matter, we sometimes forget that. Okay? So unici is the central source of creation or God. The original collective identity we all came out of and go back into in the perpetual motion universe. You are never separate from Source. You come out into manifestation, whether you come for contracts, whether you come to learn, whether you're in Earth school, you always go back to the unici. You are never, ever separate. You don't leave home without it, basically. So, what we're talking about is spiritual evolution. We are all evolving to return home. How many people want to go home with a capital H? Let's see those hands. Well, that's what this is all about. We all feel a call. We're all drawn to these teachings because the freedom teachings are a way that you can do that safely. You can find your way back home. So we will change form and we will change identity, but we are eternal. When we talk about changing form, we're talking about when you go through the ascension process. We start out here as physical, dense, carbon-based biology. And as you start working with the technologies that are offered, like Kathara healing, flame body clearing, and all those types of things, we begin to transmute the carbon-based biology into a less dense state of matter. Okay? So it all begins with the particle, the particle, and the particum. Promise we're not going to go over this in detail. I know we've been seeing this for many years. But we do have the particle, which is an antimatter unit of consciousness. And from the particle, we birth out a particum, which is a matter particle, and a particle, which is antimatter. And what happens is they come out into manifestation, they fuse back together through a process called fission, they go back into the center particle unit, and then it replicates. And this is how the world that you see, manifest substance, is created. It's a small way of saying it. It's much more detailed than that. But we have the particle units, and what they do is they form strands, particle strands, and then these particle strands, they weave together, kind of like you make a blanket or a quilt, and it weaves and it forms the fabric of time and light and sound. And what happens is the particle continue to accrete upon what are called particle grids here. This is the grid underneath here. And they form what are called chelons. This is what those shapes represent. And these chelons are like thought crystals of source. Okay? And this is where chelontic science comes from. Chelontic science. So it's all about codes of ascension and your chelon, how much chelon you can build up, how many codes of ascension you can reaccrete with the chelons. And the chelons come together, and then they form frequency bands. Okay? So let's take a look at those. Now, this is our 15-dimensional matrix in 5 harmonic universes. Each one of these represents a frequency band. Our 15-dimensional matrix is a set of stacked dimensions or fields of frequency. So remember I was saying how when you go through spiritual evolution, you change form and you change identity? Well, here we are down here in Harmonic Universe 1, and our identity is the incarnate identity, carbon-based biology. Okay? As we start transmuting that carbon-based biology into less dense states of matter, we come up into a new identity, our soul matrix identity. Okay? And we are semi-etheric. As we move up into Harmonic Universe 3, that is where our oversoul identity is. And we have an etheric matter form. As we move up here into Harmonic Universe 4, that is where our avatar identity is, Maharata identity, our Christos identity. And that's like this pale silver liquid light, just kind of flows and moves. And then as we get up into here, which are called the primal light fields, the Ki, the Ra, and the She, we are gaseous light. Okay, so can you see how as you ascend, you do change matter, form, and identity? Okay, we'll move on. So, you are a plural. Once you realize that you are part of a plural, nothing looks the same out here anymore. I remember when I first started waking up and I thought to myself one day, wow, I'm more than I see when I look in the mirror. It was a big aha moment for me. And then when I got into these teachings, wow, there are a lot of us hanging around. We have probable selves, we have parallel selves, we have all kinds of selves. But the thing is to recognize that you are one of many. Okay? So, when we're talking about frequency, how many people have actually felt that tired? Yeah? I know I have. Well, our bodies need sleep. We have to sleep because our genetic codes and our bodies cannot yet hold that much frequency. Frequency and energy are information. So, when you say you do one of the journeys, you go to the Adashi Temple, or you go to the Aurora platform, and your consciousness travels, and it picks up all this frequency. But you wake up and you're like, well, did anything happen? I don't remember a thing. That's because your consciousness put the body to sleep. Your consciousness traveled, and when it came back and it hit the genetic code, it couldn't anchor that frequency. So the information is out there in your astral field. And when your body can hold that frequency, it will naturally downstep into your conscious memory and then into your emotional body. So you'll start to remember it and you'll start to feel it. Okay? And then, of course, when we're talking about level of consciousness and spiritual evolution, our thoughts become very, very, very important. Our thoughts are where we focus them, control energy in our bodies, and control what our consciousness will do. So, I mean, we've talked many times about the 6-minute checkup. You know, when you're walking through your day and all of a sudden, you know, you went upstairs and you don't know why you went upstairs. You have to go back and catch that thought, right? Well, if you do a 6-minute checkup, you can probably figure out what happened that interrupted that process. Okay, we all do it, right? I mean, I've been up and downstairs I don't know how many times trying to catch my thought. Just didn't go to the right room, I guess. So what it is knowing yourself. Because when you know yourself, when you know your parts, when you know how your energy is supposed to work, then you really know yourself, and then you are set free. You set yourself free because you know how to run energy through your biology. One of the things that is not taught down here in any of the schools that I've ever seen is the energy system, the chakra system. My daughter wanted me to go to high school and teach it, and I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. So another thing is something that really makes me think a lot, and I like to ponder a lot, is the thoughts that you allow yourself to engage on a daily basis throughout the day is what you become. Because your thoughts are creating morphogenetic templates, right? Morphogenetic templates are things that allow consciousness to build up and form, okay? So it's just a reminder of when we're talking about spiritual evolution, how important our thoughts are, okay? So the Earth core, the morphogenetic field of a planet Earth. Well, we just said that the morphogenetic field was a template. It's a form-holding blueprint that particles, antiparticles can build upon to make something come manifest. Okay? So the morphogenetic field of planet Earth is in the Earth core. And the morphogenetic field holds the evolutionary memory and the race memory for everything on planet. Anything that happens on planet, it affects the Earth core, and anything that happens in the Earth core affects everything on the planet. Okay? So it's called the cave of creation because it's what, when somebody wants to come into incarnation in Harmonic Universe 1, they have to pass through the cave of creation. Okay? So that's why that is important. And another thing that I was thinking about when I was doing this is in all the techniques that we work with in the Freedom Teachings, we send energy down to the Earth core, don't we? We don't just send it to Earth. We send it to Earth core. Well, we know from Kathara that our Kathara Center 1 is connected to Earth core, so we have an intimate connection there. But why? Maybe it's because that's where our race memory is held, right? One of the reasons. The other reason is we're a bioelectric conduit, so that any healing that we do on ourselves, we offer to the planet, and then the planet gives us a backflow. Okay? And this is an example. I don't know if anybody knows that that's the low T crystal body, but it's an example of a morphogenetic field. And morphogenetic fields are the place where our living memory is held. It's the place where our consciousness is stationed at all times, and from which our consciousness projects outward. And the human morphogenetic field is what holds the imprint for our DNA. So you can see how important it is to, when you want to access your DNA, you're working with your form-holding blueprint. You're working with the morphogenetic field. So it's important to understand as we move through this how important that morphogenetic field is, because you're going to see how that morphogenetic field has been tampered with. Okay? So, physical and spiritual evolution. A planet evolves by pulling frequency into its morphogenetic field from the unified field of the dimensions that it's in. So as a planet evolves, so do we. We'll take the example again as let's say we're going to go into the Aurora Continuum. Okay? Your consciousness travels there, not your physical body yet. Your consciousness travels there, and what do we do when we're there? We breathe. Our consciousness is stationed there, and we breathe in the frequency. We are accreting the frequency. We're pulling that frequency into our consciousness. Our consciousness comes back into our body, and then it affects our DNA. That is how a planet evolves, and that is how we evolve. Okay? So our human evolutionary blueprint. We're going to learn a little bit about the halls of Amenti and the Ark of the Covenant. This is fascinating information. It was for me. We're going to learn about Tara, what Tara is. Why do you want to know? What about Eden? We've heard about stories of Eden before. And the secrets of Amenti. Angelic humans were created as a guardian race to assist in healing the earth and its population. So we go back in time now to Tara. What is Tara? Remember how we talked about we have a soul identity in Harmonic Universe 2? Tara is Earth's soul identity. Okay? It was formed about 560 trillion years ago, so it's a very old planet. And the ideas that some people have of heaven, when you dream about heaven, it can be memory from when we were on Tara, because Tara is in harmonic universe 2, so it's a less dense state of matter, and it's much lighter than it is here. And then we have Amenti and Eden. Well, Amenti and Eden are both places that existed on Tara, planet Tara. So just as we are the guardian races, or were created to be the guardian races and the planetary stewards of planet Earth, there was a race that was created called the Taranesium race. And they were created with the purpose of being the guardians and the grid keepers of planet Tara. So what happened was they took the best of the best. These are our genetic contributors to the Taranesium race. Harmonic Universe 3, the Lyran founders. They were the teachers and the overseers of the Taranesium experiment. Harmonic Universe 2, the Syrian Anunnakis. Harmonic Universe 2, the Pleiadians. Harmonic Universe 2, the Lyran Elohim. And Harmonic Universe 2, the Orion Vega. And Harmonic Universe 2, the Andromedes, Arcturians, Athenians, and others. So you can see we are a hybrid. The Taranesium race is definitely a hybrid, but a hybrid that was created to have the potential for 12 strands of DNA. Okay? So the Taranesium race is a race of super beings, and they were seated on Tara 560 million years ago on Eden. That's with an E. It's not Eden like we know about in the middle domains. It's Eden. And they were created to be a living library for the 15-dimensional time matrix. Because they were created with a 12-strand DNA template, they were created to be the living library of 12 dimensions of consciousness. Okay? I know, it kind of boggles the mind, doesn't it? We're in three-dimensional consciousness here. So the first seeding, these were the Taranesium race. This was the best of the best. These were the negotiators. These were the diplomats. These were the grid keepers of Tara. So just take a moment and close your eyes. And I'm going to pose some questions to you. Can you imagine what it might mean to have the potentialities of 12 strands of DNA active, available, alive within your body? What abilities would that give you? What would our minds be like? What would our comprehension be like? If you have 12 strands of DNA, you have 144 subharmonics of frequency available to you, and you know what's happening in each and every one of your identities. So what would our comprehension be like? And what would you do with that kind of power? What would we be like with 12 strands of DNA? Well, in the first seeding, the Taranesium race had a consciousness that was with total at one-ment with God, in a state of joy, in a state of beauty, in a state of peace, in a state of harmony for 10 million years. Can you imagine? Just picture yourself in there. If you want to stand up and you want to put your arms out and just put your arms out and mimic this image in there. You don't want to? It's a great feeling. Okay, now, doesn't that feel good? Now, lift your heads to the sky. Doesn't that feel good? Can you feel the energy running through your body? Right? And now take a moment and say thank you to Source for the power that you have now in this moment and that you will use it well. That's what it was like in the first seeding. We knew what it felt like. We knew the molecules in the sand. We knew the molecules in the water. We knew the molecules in the sky and in the air that we breathe. We were total at one-ment with Source. Feels pretty good, doesn't it? We experienced that for 10 million years. Well, and then, as happens throughout history, about 8 million years ago, there started to be a division in thought within the Taranisium race. There was a group that wanted to live by, express, and breathe the law of one, and there was a group that decided to experience the opposite expression of the law of one. So we have what are called the Lumians and the Elenians. Both of the cultures began to digress. The Elenians were the ones that chose the opposite expression of the law of one. And the Lumians were the ones that chose to live the law of one. And the Elenians began interbreeding with ET races that were not part of the genetic experiment, the Taranisium race, and they began digressing the gene code of the Elenians. But because the Elenians were on the same planet that the Lumians were, they were affecting the morphogenetic field of the planet, which, remember, it affects everything on the planet. So both races began to have a digressive gene code. They were losing their 12-strand consciousness. So the Lumians foresaw a cataclysm, and they said, help, 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 Syrian Council, help. So what they did was the Syrian Council came in, and they moved them to another continent on Tara called Mu. And they interbred with a group called the Siris. And what this did was this purified the 12-strand imprint and revitalized the 12-strand imprint. So the Lumians created a culture based on the law of one, a matriarchal society. They created councils. I think you've heard of the Council of Mu in these teachings, or the priesthood of Mu. And they lived at one, total at one. And the Elenians continued to digress. There was a group of the Elenians called the Templar Solar Initiates. And they were given the job, if you will, by the Syrian Council, which was a great honor, to be the grid keepers of the energy grid of Tara. Well, they started, interbreeding with ET races and some animal forms, and their gene code got very digressive, and they wanted to control the more passive Lumians. So there was a battle that was fought. It was called the Syrian Rebellion between the Lumians and the Elenians. And what happened was the Elenians, in their greed for power and wanting to control the Lumians, misused certain Kelantic technologies and withdrew energy from the planetary core of Tara and caused implosions and then explosions. And they caused the cataclysm of Tara 550 million years ago. And this is what is referred to as the fall of man. As Tara and the consciousness of the people on Tara began to de-evolve. So part of the planet Tara broke off from its energetic form, and its energetic form was dismantled. We know that the energetic form, or the form holding blueprint, is its morphogenetic field. So Tara could no longer connect to its morphogenetic field and take its evolutionary path into Gaia, which is Earth's oversoul. Okay? So what happens when you have a planet that explodes? Well, you have fragments. You have the consciousness of the people that were on the planet are fragmented, and the pieces of the planet are fragmented. So what happened was these pieces of Tara and the consciousness of the people were pulled into a sun on Tara, and they were vaporized. And then they were pulled through the black hole in our sun, and they remanifested down in harmonic universe 1. And they formed what we know as our solar system. And as we talked about spiritual evolution of a planet or of a person, they began accreting frequency from the dimension that they were in, and they created the planets that we now know in our solar system. Every single one of these planets has a portion of Tara's morphogenetic field. The blue flame staff of Amenti is the part of Tara's morphogenetic field that belongs to our planet. Okay? So, the guardians in the dark guardian species loved the races of Tara, as they love all races, and they formed something called the Covenant of Paleodor. And what this was the beings that were part of the original genetic contribution to the Taranesium race. They all transmuted their cellular code and turned themselves into light. They merged their energy fields, and they formed a sphere. That is what is referred to as the sphere of Amenti. The sphere of Amenti held the whole imprint for the evolution of the Taranesium race. So they decided that they were going to start a plan. It's called a race re-evolution plan. So we have our Palladorian morphogenetic field, the sphere of Amenti. It's broken into 5 pieces, and these are called cloistered races. And they're called cloistered races because they hold the imprint for one strand of DNA and for DNA strands 7 through 12, which is what allows us to transmute the biology and go through the halls of Amenti gates and ascend to Tara if that was the path we were going to take. Okay, so the first 2 races were seated on Gaia, an etheric race, and those 2 races were responsible for bringing into manifestation or assembling half a strand of DNA. So together they did the first strand of DNA, and then it manifested down here in Harmonic Universe 1 as the first strand of DNA. So then we became responsible for strands 2 through 6. So what happened here? This beautiful race re-evolution plan, there were some of the Harmonic Universe beings that were part of the genetic contributors to the Taranesium race that didn't want them to have a chance to re-evolve. Oh, come on, they blew up the planet. Forget it. Let them be. And then there was another side that said, no. We want to give them a chance. Do you know which part of the council you guys were on when that discussion was happening? Okay, so what they decided to do was they decided that they were going to have a battle over this, whether or not we should be allowed to re-evolve. And of course, the Harmonic Universe 2 entities were interested in the sphere of Amenti because it held our potential for ascension. They did not want us to evolve either. They wanted the sphere of Amenti for their own uses. So this great battle was fought on Earth. It was called the Electric Wars, also referred to as the Entity Wars. So these were, I don't know, I'm sure you've had some dreams or cellular memory or something of going through the sky, all these lights, all this energy, just balls of energy flying all over the place. It's probably memory from the Electric Wars. What happened was the Harmonic Universe 2 Syrian Confederacy won the battle. But
either of those 2 sides.
But, oh, beg your pardon?
He said Anunnaki versus Elohim.
Well, the Syrian Confederacy is part of the Palladorians in Harmonic Universe 3, over on the right side there. So what happened was the Harmonic Universe 2 Syrian Confederacy won and receded the Taranesium race on Harmonic Universe 3 about 2.5 million years ago. But the Harmonic Universe 5 Brenau Rishi formed a treaty, and they said, okay, the ones that didn't want the people from Tara to have a chance to re-evolve was because they polluted the morphogenetic field. And the other ones that did want them to evolve wanted them to have a chance, but they said, we'll do it slower. We won't do it so fast. And this is where you'll see the 12 tribe seedings comes in. So basically, we were loved enough that we were given a second chance. They fought a war, a battle, a great battle, where we were loved enough and we were given a second chance. And this is what is referred to as the Taranesium 2 experiment. And that's where we get the 12 tribes of the human race seated on Earth 2.5 million years ago. And they were created from the Taranesium 1 pure strain genetic code. And that was referred to as the second seeding. And this is our race re-evolution plan. Excuse me one second, I need to fix this here. So this is the 12 tribes in the Earth seedings. We have our first seeding that occurred 25 million years ago to 5.5 million years ago. And that ended with the Electric Wars that we just discussed. And we have our second seeding, which was 3.7 million years ago, to 848,000 years ago, and that was ended by the 1,000-Year War. And that was a war that we will be looking at in just a moment. And right now, we're in seeding 3. We're in the middle of a seeding. Yes? So what this is showing is right here, in this line here, it says up at the top, root race, number, name, and DNA strand to assemble. Now you have this in your chart packs. Okay? So we have our root race here. Let's take the second seeding here. Root race number 3 was the Lemanians. They were here to assemble strand 2. Okay? And if you look over here, this tells where it was seeded. When you see YA-E, that means it was years ago and on planet Earth. And then as we look up here to the corresponding cloister race name and DNA strand, you'll see that the Lemanians were doing strand 2 3 million years ago on Earth, and their cloister race was the Antrians. So the cloister race is responsible for assembling that strand of DNA that the root race is, plus they hold the potential for DNA strands 7 through 12. Okay? Right now we are the 5th root race, the Aryan race, the majority of the people on planet, and they are assembling the 4th DNA strand. So they're just starting to come into dream awareness or astral awareness or having out-of-body experiences. Okay? So after the electric wars, things were going well, and then they realized that the halls of Amenti had been damaged more than they thought. The halls of Amenti started having chaotic energies that were spewing out all over the place. And what happened was it dropped the speed of the Earth grid. The sphere of Amenti was removed from the Earth core, and the halls of Amenti were closed to humans. This is why we have what's called the seal of Amenti on the 12-strand DNA imprint. When you remove the sphere of Amenti from the planetary core, it causes all kinds of things to happen. So what they did was they took the sphere, they moved it out into the 4th dimensional frequency bands, and it acquired a 4th dimensional frequency seal. And that is what is referred to as the seal of Paleodor. And it's called the seal of Paleodor because what it did was it prevented us from connecting with the Palladorian consciousness that was in the sphere of Amenti that held the race re-evolution potential. And it's also referred to as the wall in time. So if you look down here, it says slight pole reversal and quick freeze. That's what happened when the sphere of Amenti was removed and taken out into D4. About 40 years later, we had a slight pole reversal and a quick freeze. Okay. So I mentioned the seal of Amenti and the seal of Paleodor, so we take a little bit closer look at what those are. The seal of Amenti is referred to as the death seal. Isn't that nice? Manifested as perception of duality between body and consciousness. We no longer felt at one with our body. We felt our body as separate from our conscious mind. The halls of Amenti were sealed to humans, which meant there was no ascension potential. We had birth and we had death. And we lost our transmutation ability. We lost our ability to transmute our bodies to less dense state of matter, travel through the halls of Amenti gates and into Tara. Yes?
But could we continue to evolve between each incarnation?
Absolutely. The potential is always there.
We could not have said that.
Right. Yeah. That's where reincarnation actually came in. Okay. The seal of Paleodor manifested as an extra D4 frequency pattern within the 2nd and the 3rd DNA strands. And it manifested as an extra D4 frequency pattern because that is where the sphere of Amenti was taken, into D4. Okay? And it manifested in the 2nd and the 3rd DNA strands, which corresponds to our emotional and our mental bodies. We know that D4 is the astral body, so our astral body could not communicate with our emotional and our mental body. And we lost the ability to have dream recall, or recall during journeys when our consciousness leaves our body. It created a separation between the emotional, mental, and our astral identity. Human consciousness lost awareness of its relationship to Earth and the higher dimensions and its species evolutionary memory. And then the Dracon came. 1 million years ago, during the second seeding, the Dracon group from the Orion system created hybrids called Dracos. These Dracos are half human and half Dracon, and they began to digress the gene code and pollute the morphogenetic field. So the Elohim unplugged more of the gene codes in our DNA to prevent contamination of the entire morphogenetic field. But they unplugged it. They didn't cut it up or anything. They just unplugged it. And they put it in the nucleus of the cells in the DNA so that one day when we were ready, we could access that DNA. And that is what created our limited type of consciousness. Now, it's interesting because the Dracos, because they were half Dracon and half human, they felt they had some type of entitlement to planet Earth. And actually, I think we're still dealing with them. Okay. So the seeding continued, things were going well, and the Guardians restored the sphere of Amenti, and then we had the Anunnaki and the Nephilim resistance, and that is referred to as the 1,000-year war. And it was all about they wanted the sphere of Amenti for their own use. So the Guardians had to remove the sphere of Amenti again. And we became trapped. They moved it out into Andromeda in our system. We became trapped in time. And in the infinite wisdom and the absolute love of the Guardians, they created something called the Ark of the Covenant. Not a boat, not a box. It's a portal. The Ark of the Covenant is a portal that exists between certain places on Earth and the Andromeda Galaxy, where the sphere of Amenti is being held. So you could picture this like if you were to close your eyes and picture a tunnel of energy that leads from, let's say, where you are on Earth. And you're traveling through the tunnel, and you can only get so far because you get halfway through the tunnel, and there's a frequency seal. And this is where your DNA will be your taskmaster. If you do not have the fifth strand activated in your DNA, you will not be able to pass through, and you will have to come back to Earth, and you will have to reincarnate it again down on planet Earth. And that's what's called a D5 frequency seal. We've been doing that a lot, as you'll see. So this is just to explain it a little bit more. The D5 frequency seal is what's around the sphere of Amenti and the Ark of the Covenant. And what happens when things are working properly, the Earth sends a blue spark into the Ark to open it. That spark of energy is sent back to Earth. That spark downloads into the morphogenetic field in the planetary core, which replaces or brings back the sphere of Amenti into the planetary core. That then raises the frequency of the planetary core, and Earth sends another blue spark back up through the Ark of the Covenant, and that second spark brings the staff of Amenti, and the blue flame is entered back into the core in the sphere of Amenti. Now remember, the blue flame staff of Amenti are the parts of Tara, Tara's morphogenetic field. Okay? And then what happens when things are working properly? The halls of Amenti gates open. And there are portals between Earth and Tara that open. The halls of Amenti gates are time travel gates. Right? So this can only happen during certain times, during certain time cycles, during certain periods. We have something called a Uego. And a Uego is a harmonic time cycle through which planets evolve within one harmonic universe. Within each Uego, within each Uego, we have 6 what are called time continuums. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each time continuum consists of 4,426 years. At the beginning of a Uego, we have an ascension potential, and at the end of a Uego, we have an ascension opportunity. Okay? What happens during these times is the planet Tara and the planet Earth begin to interact with each other, move through each other, and cross through each other. And the progressive release of particles and antiparticles into the morphogenetic field at the primary coordinate points, which are over here on this part of the cycle, constitutes the release of a particle-antiparticle wave of energy. And this is called a morphogenetic wave. And this is the morphogenetic wave. If we look here, our morphogenetic wave began in 1997. Okay, the first transmission for these teachings was in 1998. You see the correlation there? So this crest begins to wave. This is an infusion of energy building as Tara and planet Earth begin interacting together. They're building this wave of energy. It's getting stronger and stronger. And then we hit the crest at 2012. And what's supposed to happen here in 2012 is the halls of Amenti gates are supposed to open. Right? And then we have 5 years in which to use those halls of Amenti gates for our ascension potential. And then what happens is, as you can see, it starts to go down, and in 2022, on January 1st, those halls of Amenti gates would close. And then, if you're still on planet Earth, you got another Uego to go through. We have gone through 8 Uegos. Okay? It's time to go home, guys. All right? So people who are able to assemble their DNA will see a vortex of swirling energy with their inner vision and will be taken through it. If you'll give me just a second, I'd like to read something from the Voyagers book to you. If anybody wants to follow along, if you have your Voyagers book by any chance. Page 269. Secrets of Amenti, Volume 2. Thank you for asking. I was going to say that. I'm going to be reading 268 and 269. Since 848,000 years ago, when guardian races from Harmonic Universe 2 and above created the Ark of the Covenant, they have watched, waited, nurtured, guided, assisted, and prayed. Yes, prayed for the time to come when the lost souls of Tara will return home from their long and troubled evolutionary journey on Earth. They did this because your race was loved. They have waited patiently for the distant time when Earth and the 11 other missing fragments of Tara, those are the planets, other planets, could be returned into Tara's energetic body so Tara herself could ascend. Great wars have been fought and great catastrophes endured to secure your species' right to evolve and to uphold and protect the covenant of Paleodor, through which the integrity of your species' evolutionary blueprint is ensured. Can you understand how important the next morphogenetic wave will be in relation to the evolution of Earth and the souls who continue to repeatedly incarnate there? The next morphogenetic wave in your present 26,556-year cycle is your potential ticket to freedom. After being imprisoned within the illusion of Harmonic Universe 1 matter for over 200,000 years, if you are unable to utilize that potential, you will sentence yourselves to yet another 26,556 years in the prison of your Earth school, if your planet could survive long enough to complete its next cycle. We are taking great pains to explain the dynamics of morphogenetic waves to you, as you are presently within the second cycle of your 26,556-year harmonic time cycle. The ascension cycle began 2,194 years ago in 196 BC. The half point in your current time cycle is 2017 AD. Now this was back in 2000. You have 19 years before the first morphogenetic wave of this cycle completes its crest. Do you think you will be ready? If the guardian races had not intervened, your planet would not have made it this far. So we're in 2009, 2012. The way it was intended to work was the halls of Amenti gates would open. We would get an infusion of D5 frequency, which would activate our fourth strand of DNA, our fifth strand of DNA, which would plug us into the cloister morphogenetic field, allow us to transmute our cellular code into light, and allow us to time travel through the halls of Amenti gates. That's the potential. I'm not going to tell you how it is because only Ash can do that. But this is how it was intended to be. Okay? Earth changes and the ascension process. Well, that's the $144,000 question, isn't it? What's it going to look like? How will it appear in the illusion of matter? Nobody really knows. Right? How can we help? We are a living part of the planet. We know that we have a Kathara grid. We know that our Kathara grid is intimately connected to the Earth's planetary Kathara grid through something called the planetary biofeed interface system. And what that does is that allows any healing that we do on ourselves to go down to Earth core into the planetary morphogenetic field, and then it sends a backflow for our personal healing. What we do with our energy systems here will have a direct effect on how much Earth changes we will or will not see between 2012 and 2017. Kathara, guys. Light, sound, one, transmuting, learning how to transmute your biology, flame body healing, decoding the shadow dancers, activating the DNA. It's all in the freedom teachings. And you know what? When you do these techniques, you do them within a safety net offered by the guardian races. So we have to reverse mutate the mutation. This is a representation of the 12-strand DNA template. We have 12 strands of DNA represented by these lines here. Each strand of DNA has something called a base code and an acceleration code. The base code goes with our system here, the par to come, and the acceleration code goes with the par decay system. When you have a particle and an antiparticle come together, they fuse and they activate the fire codes, and then the strand begins to clear and then activate. So when we do that, we start affecting all levels of our biology. Remember that DNA is a scalar wave pattern. Your thoughts are scalar wave patterns. So your thoughts also affect your DNA. Anytime you take a nanosecond, even if it's a nanosecond, and you say something like, okay, I am my Masha Yahana self. You've created a template. You've created a thought. You've created a scalar wave that is going to affect your DNA. The more you do it, the more you affect your DNA, right? So as we start working with our DNA, we start affecting our chakras, which have to do with our bioenergetic systems in our body. We start affecting different levels of mind. We start affecting the axiotonal lines, which have to do with the meridian lines. And we can affect change in our bodies and our consciousness and our physical lives by learning how to use these energies. And this is what we teach in the Kathara classes, Kathara courses. Opening conscious contact with the higher self, or even higher aspects of self, facilitates the reverse mutation process. When you connect with higher aspects of your own identity, you are bringing in frequencies. Remember how I said earlier that you're accreting frequencies from the dimension you're in? When you send your consciousness out there, there are levels of you that are so willing to help. They're reaching their hands down and they're saying, come on, I'll do it with you. All you got to do is reach out your hand and grab their hand. And they will assist you in transmuting and reverse mutating your own DNA pattern. Initiations and ordinations. Initiation is when the frequency patterns of one dimension first start coming into your DNA. It's initiating in your body. Consummation is when the full dimensional frequency band actually plugs into your DNA. And we all know what activation is, don't we? Activation is when dimensional frequency starts to project outward, transmit through your cellular code, and into your hologram. And while one DNA strand, let's say 3, for example, is doing its activation, DNA strand 4 is beginning its initiation. Now, many people who have been involved in the work, they know, have come from different modalities. There's a lot of things out there in the New Age movement that offer you a quick fix for a DNA activation. They'll say, I'll do it for you. $500, I'll do it for you. Well, nobody can do that for you. You are the only one that can activate your DNA. When we work with these freedom teachings, we work with disengaging the manipulation that we experience from ET races. We can start to remove the veils and start to be able to sense encryption, the true code, the true being that's behind the mask. And in angelic realities, there's about 5 techniques, I believe it is, for disengaging manipulation. Of course, the Crystal River Prayer and the Sliders program is awesome for that. And so when we start sensing frequency signatures, we can start discerning better about what is going to assist our DNA and what is not. You can either build up your chelons with your thought process, or you can tear them down with your thought process. We are being offered an opportunity, an amazing opportunity, in the way time cycles are right now, to be able to immortalize our bodies. And if we are unable to do that, we can at least make a whole lot of progress in where our consciousness is able to end up when we do drop our bodies in death. And I assure every one of you, you are going to wake up on the other side. And you are going to have to make choices. And you're going to have to see what choices you could have made better here. Nobody is going to judge you but yourself. That was speaker 1 from the Amenti DVDs. Now I'd like to do a journey, if everybody is wanting to do that. Okay. Give you some more final thoughts from the Guardians, from Voyagers, Sleeping Abductees, Volume 1, my very first introduction to this work. If we did not fully believe that humans were capable of fulfilling the role for which they were created, the role of Earth Guardian and conscious co-creators of reality, we would not labor to bring you information you will need in your journey to success. Unlike those who attempt to hold you back, we do not underestimate your intelligence, your fortitude, and your ability to become responsible for the direction in which your destiny unfolds. We believe in your innate goodness and honor you for the noble beings that you are. Let us remind you of that nobility so that you may rediscover the beauty of your race and allow that beauty to burst forth into the universe, renewing all that it touches. May you yourselves be renewed and resurrecting the majesty of your multidimensional being. That was page 61 from Voyagers 1. Okay, does anybody want the lights turned down? Yeah? Okay. This is an adaptation from the Blue Flame that was done in the Amenti DVDs. And it's referred to as the Amareya Blue-Green Flame Meditation. So we're going to start with 3 slow inhale, exhale breaths, and then a final inhale and a very quick exhale, which is a cleansing breath, moving stagnant energy out of your system. Visualize the images as clearly as you can and be aware of what I can feel in me and around me, and not just can I think, see, or hear. Focus on feeling and sensation as we go through this meditation. Become aware of your consciousness behind your closed eyelids, inside your head, between the eyebrows. Imagine that you see a point of light there and focus your consciousness on this light. Move the stream of your consciousness toward the light, like you are walking towards the sun. See the light becoming larger and larger as you move closer, until you are standing before a blazing sun. Your consciousness is just a small unit of awareness. Observe for a moment the sensation of the largeness of this light compared to the size of your consciousness. Let the awe fill you as you acknowledge that you are dealing with a level of energy that is massive in size compared to your own. Picture this large sun of energy inside your head, turning first into a pale violet with flickers of gold running through it, as if the sun took on different hues. See flames encircling the sphere of light. See the violet and gold interact with each other and then turn to crystalline white. Use your consciousness to build these colors in your inner vision. The more you imagine, the clearer your vision will become. Observe the golden and violet flames merging to form white. As you see more whiteness covering your sphere of energy in your head, it is time to merge yourself with this sun. The smallness of your consciousness as it was now enters into the massive ball of energy and light. You will become that ball of energy. No longer small. You have expanded now. You have walked into the white light. See yourself standing within this glowing sphere of white energy. Feel white light moving through you from all directions. Feel it tingle like electricity running through your cells. Feel as if you are nearly floating, becoming lighter and lighter, less dense, centered within the globe of glowing light. See yourself standing within this glowing sphere of white energy. Within the center of this light, picture before yourself a small flame of vibrant emerald blue-green coming out of the center of this glowing ball. Observe a small emerald blue-green flame emerge, a standing wave pattern of emerald blue-green energy. As consciousness now, choose to create a small image of your body as you know it here, standing before this small emerald blue-green flame in front of you. The flame is about 2 inches high. Imagine it's at your feet. With your mind, place your focus within the small version of yourself, within the globe of light. Request from the consciousness of the flame, and you can repeat after me. I call to the entity of the Amareya flame. You are calling the frequencies of Source into your consciousness and into your body. Watch the consciousness of the Amareya flame come to life. It grows from 2 inches to 4, then 6 inches. Suddenly, you find yourself standing before a 20-foot column of blue-green blazing glory. This is energy. This is consciousness. This is a portion of your divine consciousness. The consciousness of the Amareya flame is the consciousness of your identity as a divine being, and it knows you intimately. Once you remember this level of identity, you will know yourself as the Amareya flame. But for now, as we become reacquainted with ourselves, we are watching a 20-foot column of emerald blue-green blazing glory before our eyes, in our little body inside the sphere. Let us now step into the Amareya flame. It will not burn you. In fact, it is so hot it feels cold when you enter your small body into it. Step in with no fear. You will not be harmed. You will be healed. Put your hand out and feel the energy. If you become involved in this visualization, you will be able to put out your physical hand in correspondence with the small body hand and feel a sense of resistance and fuzzy vibration. It's important to become used to connecting movements of the physical body here with the movements of the little body that you are visualizing in multidimensional energy exchanges. Put out your hand and feel the fuzzy, warm chill of energy. Put your other hand out and touch the Amareya flame as you get ready to fully step into it. Feel the vibration run through the physical hands and physical body. You are bringing in physical energy from the unified field of Source in through your palms here in the physical. Touch the column of the emerald blue-green flame, and then with the small body, visualize you are stepping into the Amareya flame. Once you are inside the Amareya flame, breathe deeply and slowly. Tell your body to adopt a Christos breathing rhythm, and this may change or slow the normal rhythm of your body. Say to yourself quietly, I will breathe the Christos breath now. Breathe several times in the Amareya flame. Now visualize the emerald blue-green flame coming up through the bottoms of your feet. See each cell in your body, each one of them, as an emerald blue-green flame burst into the center of the nucleus of each cell. Imagine the DNA becoming bright emerald blue-green, little bursts of fire. Draw the emerald blue-green flame gradually up from your feet, through the entire body, activating all the cells as it moves up. Make this as real as you can. Merging of this energy with the cellular code of the body will begin to prepare for higher frequencies aligned with your heroic probability to be brought in. Feel the cooling, calming sensation as if you were immersed in the sea, floating in the water. Feel the comfort of it all. If there is any area in the body that feels tightness, darkness, pain, or tension, bring more of the emerald blue-green flame into that area and watch it ignite. Use the Amareya flame to burn away discomfort within your physical body. Stand in the middle of the flame and silently request. The heart chakra will open now and accept the Amareya flame. This allows the astral body to open and accept these frequencies. Then silently request that the mental awareness put aside all judgments and allow the Amareya flame to become one with the physical body. The Amareya flame is now centered within your physical body. You, as your small little self, are inside the Amareya flame. A sphere of bright light is around you in the Amareya flame. And now, that sphere of light and all that is within it is centered within your body. First at the fourth heart chakra, then move the ball of light down to the third solar plexus chakra. This is moving the frequencies of source into your mental body. Now move it down to the second chakral chakra below the navel. See the emerald blue-green energy emanating out of the sphere of white light. Emerald blue-green waves of energy coming out, clearing all through the second chakra and auric field, clearing the emotional body, healing and aligning. And finally, bring the ball of white light with its emerald blue-green emanations down to the base chakra. See the emerald blue-green light emanating outward like a starburst. Feel the physical cells responding to the magnetic pull of your etheric template, being pulled into alignment with the divine pattern for your body and your energy. See the Amareya flame engulf you in the physical body and surround you in a huge pillar of light. Feel the kinetic energy near your skin. Breathe slowly and deeply for as long as it feels right. Give yourself the command, which will be heard on many levels, including the subconscious level, including the body conscious level. And we'll say these out loud, so you can repeat after me. I accept the path of my heroic probability.
I accept the path of my heroic probability.
I open to receive the truth.
I open to receive the truth
and guidance of my heroic self. I am my heroic self now.
I am my heroic self now.
Taeja into Doe. Taeja into Doe. Taeja into Doe. I'll take care of that. My computer's also getting emotional about it, correct? Okay. How did that feel? It's a wonderful meditation, isn't it? You can do that anytime. What I used to do is when I'd go to sleep at night, let's say I may have had a little bit of an argument with somebody, and I would wrap myself up in that blue-green flame. And it would feel so good, like it was a sleeping bag. You know, you can do that with any of the frequencies. It was absolutely wonderful. What was that? It's an adaptation from the flame meditation that was done in the Amenti DVDs. Mm-hmm. Would somebody like to hit the page down button on the laptop? Yeah. Okay, then. Well, I'll just tell you about it. Basically, what the information that you're not going to see is that the freedom teachings are a way to plan your journey home. And there's something that Jesuit 12 once said, and it was, know yourself, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. In the beginning of the module, I walked over to this flip chart over here, and I had 3 words on there. I know some of you missed that. And I have freedom up there, awareness, and love. And freedom is the creed of the Guardian Alliance. Awareness is their method, and love is the motivation. As we've moved through this module, we've seen many times when our race could have been left to be fragmented particles in the elemental fields of planet Earth. And we've seen the great love of the guardian races who sacrificed put their evolution on hold to hold our evolution in place for us in the sphere of Amenti. The Palladorians, part of our genetic contributors to the Teranesium race. Much of the information that was gathered from this module is from the Amenti DVDs. Some of it, as you can see, is a little more current. That was just to show you that there's always hope. In my mind, the Guardians have such long sleeves that no matter how bad it looks here, it can always get better. When we start expanding our consciousness to the potentialities that are available to us, we can see much more as we expand and clear, because our third-dimensional consciousness, our mental body, our third strand of DNA, can actually pull in some more frequency. So we get a bigger picture of what's happening, right? But the Guardians, they have the big picture because they're not trapped in the illusions of harmonic universe 1 dense matter. Okay. So does anybody have any questions? Okay. Well, there's a website called the AmentiProject.com, and this is something that was put together to have home study groups to move through the freedom teachings at your own pace. And I highly recommend that. Has anybody here done any of the Amenti classes? The DVDs? No, the Amenti Project? No, nobody's done it? Okay, you have, great. Wonderful. So I'm going to let you go with a couple of quotes and give you some more to think about. So just give me 1 second. This is from Voyagers Sleeping Abductees. It's from page 102. This is volume 1. You have been programmed by those who wish to see you fail in the fulfillment of your evolution to remain in darkness, living in a world of duality, which you are always at the mercy of subconscious forces. They would like to see you remain fearful, frightened by the chaotic energy you can feel within you, and of a seemingly chaotic universe within which you reside. Do not allow them to win. You have the power within you to succeed beyond your wildest dreams, to experience realities free from the disease, sorrow, and confusion that your polarized perceptions create. So much wonder awaits you as you awaken to the truth of your heritage and take your rightful place within the universe. You are like a royal family dethroned by jealous factions, and you can reclaim the territories and majesty that were once your own. Treat yourselves as the royalty that you are, and treat your fellow humans, regardless of their position, as beloved members of that lineage. Don't you just love this book? Well, there's one more. There's one more. Okay. And this is from page 118, the same book, Sleeping Abductees. We have the utmost faith in your abilities to pull yourselves through the challenges we have mentioned, and we have no doubt whatsoever you will evolve through time to emerge as the grand and wonderful co-creative guardian species that intrinsically you are. During our time of interface with your system, we will offer whatever assistance we can to help you upon your path toward understanding. Until we meet again, happy trails to you as you spiral through the matrix of time. Nobody says it better than the Guardians, huh? Thank you. Yes?
When you said earlier, just a moment ago, that they had put their own evolution on hold to help us,
The Palladorian consciousness.
they stopped their own kind of
Well, they transmuted their bodies, their cellular code into light, and they formed an energy field, and they all merged them to create the sphere of Amenti, which is holding our potential.
So they're on pause.
Yeah, we're not the only ones that are stuck in harmonic universe 1.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. When I was preparing to teach this module, I found out about 3 weeks ago I was teaching this, and I was thrilled, because I always wanted to get back into the Voyagers books. I read them in 2000, and I have forgotten so much. There's so much love and wisdom and joy between the covers of these pages, It is just amazing, amazing information. And really, it's just great. That's how this module was prepared. That's how I prepared for this module. I read the book, right? A book that has been calling me for many years that I've just been too busy to pick up again. So I figured, I already read it. I want to see the next workshop. I want to see what's coming up next. But it all connects. It all connects. We're almost 2.5 years away from the potential of the halls of Amenti gates actually opening on planet, from the potential of time travel, from the potential of activating our 4th and our 5th strands of DNA and being able to time travel. That's huge. That is huge. I personally hope we can do it. We do know that through the course of the stellar activation cycle, which began in 2000, we've taken a few detours, and now we're going in back to source instead of up back to source. But I'll let the speakers tell you the way it is. I just presented to you the way it was intended to be and the way it was. So thank you for coming. Thank you.